Hey everyone, Steve Adubato. This is Lessons in Leadership. We kick off this series. This new series is called the mini-series of Lessons in Leadership, Discovery and Innovation in New Jersey. So there'll be a whole range of programs with people in this state who are involved in discovery and innovation. We're pleased to be joined by our longtime friend, Joe Jingoli, who is partner, DCO Energy, and Jingoli Construction, also partner, Hard Rock, Atlantic City. Good to see you, Joe.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here.
And also, Joe introduced us to someone who has a tremendous reputation doing important work every day. Their partners and collaborators, Pastor Steffie Bartley, who's Northeast Regional Director of National Action Network. Good to see you, Pastor. Good to see you, Joe.
Great to see you too, Doctor. Great to see you too.
Yeah, I could go by, listen, just because our director, Elvin Badger, teases me and calls me doctor, it's, as my kids say, not a real doctor. It's a PhD. So, hey, Joe, do this. You connected us to Reverend Bartley. Talk about the partnership and collaboration, which is part of our series on discovery and innovation in New Jersey.
Well, I think I have to start with how I met Reverend Bartley. I was asked to be part of the Green Energy Jobs Steering Committee at PSE&G by a mutual friend of ours, all of ours, Rick Thigpen. And when I joined the group, a great group of people, we were all working to help PSE&G penetrate the communities they were serving and create jobs for folks in green energy, clean energy jobs for folks in some of the disadvantaged communities. And that's where I met Reverend Steffie Bartley, and we became really good friends. I have a program in Atlantic City where we started off. It's called Leaders in Training, and they're young men and women between 14 and 20 years old and at-risk youth that we employ in a program in the city. And it grew so fast and we got overrun so quickly that we were not able to keep up with all the requirements, payroll, everything else. And so I was on the committee with Pastor Bartley, and I asked him, I said, could National Action Network help us? And he stepped in, and it's become an incredibly successful program, and we've become really good friends.
That's awesome. Reverend, talk to us, Pastor Bartley, talk to us about the impact of this program that Joe's just talking about, where you're partners in Atlantic City, and the impact it's having in the community as it relates to employment opportunities for young people who too often do not have these opportunities. Please.
Sure. Thank you so much, Steve. So, I mean, Joe was just really didn't tell the whole story. It's really all about the great work that he does that has just really allowed me to partake in it. As you know, that LIT program that he has in Atlantic City has really been a life changer, something that I'm so familiar with, having my own life experience in the past, and looking for an opportunity to find someone that will believe in me, that would look at me as my not my past, but my potential. And so that's what I saw in this program, these individuals that were really trying to find another way out. How can I get off of these streets? How can I change my life? How can I make an impact in my family as well, to say I could be the first one in the family to change? And so coming together with Joe Jingoli and the work that he does has really been a life changer. And when you see these individuals who are now having career opportunities, why not be a part of it?
That's pretty awesome. Mary, jump in.
Yeah, Joe, I'd love to pick your brain a little bit more when it comes to it. Obviously, it sounds like you don't need to recruit these young adults to come and work with your program. But once you get them in there, what type of coaching, mentoring are you providing these young adults? So this way, not only did they come to you, but so they can be extremely successful working together in your program.
So first, it's a job where they show up, they are mentored and managed and paid $15 an hour, which for a young person that's a big deal. And it's also for many early in this process, we're teaching them sort of behaviorally what is going to be expected much later in their life when they get a full-time career job someplace. So what we've developed in these programs is a ratchet of consequences. And in our program in Atlantic City, we're also in contact with their schools and their guidance counselors. And so, if you're not performing there, then there are consequences as it relates to your job. And very quickly, these young people realize that, it's their behavior that is either going to create a successful work experience, or they will get a day, a week, or whatever off. And they connect that pretty quickly. And it's amazing to watch them develop into, the young men and women that any of us would hire.
Pastor, I want to follow up on what Joe just said. Mary's question about, coaching, developing, mentoring young people. So this series, Discovering an Innovation in New Jersey, yes, the Helix is part of it, and that's what Chris Palladino talks about, and Joe knows that operation very well. But is it not discovery and innovation to collaborate and partner in urban communities to provide opportunities for young people who too often people do not see the potential and the capabilities of? Long-winded way to ask this question. Why is it innovative to do this? But in fact, it is, Pastor.
You're absolutely right, Steve. And again, and I just failed to mention that really what inspired me to really get involved with this is what it would do to an individual to start learning something that they are familiar with, but putting it to a good use. And that is the technology. And so
talk about that.
Sure. So I currently have several locations. Reverend Al Sharpton, as you know, the founding president of the National Action Network. I also sit on the board, but he's allowed me an opportunity to bring in broadband. And so what we do is technology. We do cybersecurity, 3D printing, virtual reality, all of the above, where you don't need a high school diploma. You can go into the Cisco certification. I'm sure you're familiar with Pastor Keith Davis at the Dream Center in Camden. And so we brought that to Joey and say, hey, let's really get some innovation going here as well, along with the podcast and everything. In the city of Newark, under the leadership of Raz J. Baraka, we have 30,000 square feet where we have a technology center where we're doing all of those components. And I said to Joey, hey, why not bring that along with the LIT program? Because I think the children would love it. And then to have partnered with DoorDash and Lyft, when they're talking about getting to point A to point B, we're able to give them some Lyft codes so that they wouldn't have a problem getting where they need to go. And then with DoorDash, we partner with them so that they would give $50, $60, up to $100 gift certificates so they can go, not only go through the program, but be able to stop by the grocery store and bring some groceries home to the house. And so all of that is life-changing. And that's what we love about it. And this is where it's needed mostly. Lastly, Joey helped me. We have what we call, and I'm sure you might remember this, the Bookmobile. Remember the Bookmobile? Well, I have a technology mobile on wheels. So we have 21st century technology mobile where we took a 55 coach bus and turned it into technology. We go into all the areas where they don't have access to internet, and we're able to help them with that as well. And so all of that is really saying, let's innovate. Let's do what we really need to do.
Joe, I mean, you listen to Pastor Bartley, it's all these things about technology that so many of us take for granted and it's in our lives. Our kids are so advantaged that it's accessible to them. The broadband, you talk about that, like what? Why would that be a problem? Joe, you know this because you're committed to the field. These are things that not everyone has access to. Go ahead, Joe.
What is no surprise to any one of us is when we engage in the community and partnering with local NGOs and engage these young people and give them the same opportunities that many of our children have, what we have are very similar results, which is successful young people. On Chris's project in New Brunswick, Chris Palladino, DevCo, on the Helix project this summer, we'll have 50 young people from the community working in different programs, getting paid in New Brunswick. We are also, for the last 4 years, been teamed up with PTEC, which is a high school experience that when the young people graduate, they also get a 2-year degree from Middlesex County Community College. And part of it is corporations are involved with them throughout their experience. And several of these young people will be operating the cogeneration plant that'll be powering the new Jack and Cheryl Morris Cancer Institute. So it's starting at a younger age, recruiting the employees that we're going to need later. Because it's very difficult to come into a community where none of this has taken place and say, I need someone who can work on an offshore wind platform. I need someone who could work on a high-rise office building. But if you start at a younger age and you invest in the people in the community, what you have in just a few short years are good employees. And that's what we're looking for.
And the bottom line, Mary, as we listen to Joe and excuse me, and Pastor Bartley, is you can do all the innovative and creative, technologically sophisticated things possible. But if you don't have people, particularly in certain communities, urban communities, to operate and work on that technology, what good is it? So to you, Joe, and thank you, first of all, Joe, for not just being a partner of ours, but to also, you continually introduce us to leaders that you're partnering with, making a difference, like Pastor Bartley. To Pastor Bartley, to you, Joe Jingoli, Joe Jingoli, I want to thank you for joining us. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, you so much. Thank you,
You
Steve.
got it.
Thank
Mary,
you,
Thank you, guys.
You guys stay right there, Joe. Stay right there. We're going to take a picture after this, Joe. We'll be right back right after this. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates, Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Veolia, Resourcing the World, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
At Delta Dental, we do more to make benefits easy to implement, use, and understand. It's why businesses large and small trust us to keep their employees smiling. Year after year, we make our clients and members happy with unmatched expertise and great dental benefits. We apply our decades of experience to give you more guidance, providing plan design options and cost-saving measures. With reliable support for you and your employees, we make administration effortless and free up your time so you can focus on other business needs. We even do more for vision care with Delta Vision. Choose Delta Dental and discover what the power of more can do for your business and your employees.
Welcome back to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with Mary Gamba. Hey, Mary, tee this up. This is an interview that I did with Nunyo Demasio. Nunyo Demasio is a terrific New York Times bestselling author, wrote this book on Bill Parcells, the iconic former head coach of the football Giants. Now, you edited this, Mary.
I did. I was just going to say, so Sylvester and Post will put up, you can go to you'll go to steveadubato.org to watch this on our one-on-one sister series. But I picked out 5 minutes that really just tie to Nunyo and you're talking about Bill Parcells' leadership style, his approach to leading. And I just thought it was very fascinating. And then we're going to come back from it and just offer our own thoughts and feedback.
Mary has in the notes, Steve, I picked the section of the interview talking about Bill Parcells, one of the greatest coaches of all time. because of his quote, old school in your face leadership style.
That's perfect notes. That's a perfect segue.
No, I would know nothing about such an approach to leadership. Let's check out the interview with Nunyo. It's good stuff. We are honored to welcome Nunyo Demasio, who is the author of a compelling book, a New York Times bestseller. It is called Parcells. That's Bill Parcells, A Football Life. And Bill Parcells wrote it with you. Nunyo, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
Now, look, I did this before as a longtime Giant fan, as a fan of Parcells, who never really wanted to be on the other end of his yelling and screaming. Who was Bill Parcells, and why does he still matter, not just in football, but in coaching overall, please?
Bill Parcells was a central character in the modern NFL. Why he still matters is just look around the league. This is a man who retired from football in 2010. If you look in today's NFL, he still has coaches that he's tutored in the NFL. Of course, Bill Belichick, he's the biggest name, but it's other guys. It's Sean Payton, who coaches the Denver Broncos. It's Todd Bowles, who coaches the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's more than that, though. Parcells has had, I think, a dozen former assistants who became head coaches. And it's not just quantity, it's also quality. Tom Coughlin, he won 2 Super Bowls,
That's right.
Belichick 6, etc.
So I want to be clear, Bill Parcells is a Jersey guy.
Yes.
He is through and through. In my view, it's more important when you think that Bill Parcells, growing up in New Jersey, experiencing this Jersey thing that we like to call grit, if you will, greatly influenced his leadership style. That's my view. Describe his leadership style, and why was he in the face of so many of his players, particularly Phil Simms? Why was he in their face, and why would they put up with it?
Well, Bill, his leadership style was very, it was unique. He just wasn't somebody who yelled at you. I think what really allowed him to turn teams around was several different reasons. But the one thing I can think of was he was a master manipulator. Bill Parcells really was a psychologist, a master psychologist, master motivator. And think about it, an NFL team has 52 players. He customized his approach for every single player. So he would find out little things about the players. He would talk to their high school coaches, even call in their parents, and he would use whatever method worked. What he would tailor his methods to each player.
Okay, so why did he treat Lawrence Taylor, the great LT, in my view, the greatest, and I said this earlier in a segment with one of your colleagues, Gary Myers, who wrote a book on the Giants Super Bowl team and what happened after with them. Listen, it's not debatable. Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player of all time. Did he, in my view, from my understand as a student of leadership, he treated them differently? He did not scream and yell at LT. He did not get in his face, and wouldn't have worked. Didn't challenge him a lot because?
That's a great point, and that goes to the point. Everyone looks at Bill Parcells as a yeller, and he did yell most of the time. But for players who it wasn't effective with, he wouldn't yell. You didn't need to yell at a Lawrence Taylor. So Bill Parcells did not yell at Lawrence Taylor. But that wasn't the only one. There were obscure players who Parcells learned, okay, yelling is not going to work on this player. So let me see what else can work that maximizes their ability. And that's what he did with Lawrence Taylor.
I'm curious about this. Gary Myers, in an interview that I did, also talked about Bill Parcells being very generous and caring to his players later on in life. Let's assume that that's true. He was generous. He gave money to them and cared about them, very compassionate. But in the book, you talk a lot about, and he talks a lot about, his failures in his personal life, that he wasn't the father, nor was he the husband he knew he needed to be. So it's ironic that the Giants players wind up being family to him, but his family. Talk about that, Nunyo.
Right. That is, you're really capturing one of the most fascinating things about Bill Parcells. He absolutely was a paradox, because that would be his main personal failing, and he would be the first to say it. And he did say it in the book. He was very self-aware and candid. He was an absentee father. He had 3 daughters. He didn't go to their high school graduations. But conversely, there were so many former players who say that Parcells essentially raised them. So he was obsessed with football. He regretted not spending as much time with his family. And that's what makes him a paradox.
You know, the other thing, and this is interesting how the world comes around. In reading the book, I actually went to the index and looked for a name, because early on in my career, I won't make this about me, but one of the first corporations to underwrite our programming was First Union Bank. And at First Union Bank was Don Parcells.
Right.
And he actually signed off on one of the first sponsorships for this show.
Oh,
for
wow.
programming. Absolutely. And so what's ironic and interesting to me is that Bill Parcells' brother Don had such an influence on Bill Parcells. He was so devastated when he lost his brother. Don died way too early. Talk about that relationship, how powerful it was, and the impact it had on Bill Parcells as not just as a coach, but as a man, as a human being.
Yeah, they were extremely close. One of my favorite chapters was when I wrote the chapter when Bill Parcells went to play a game. It was a Monday night football game, and
was that the day of the funeral?
Yes, great memory. His brother, I mean, it was such an emotional period. He had to go to his brother's funeral. He had a game, Monday Night Football, and he just had a mix of emotions. And that the Cowboys came back and won the game, and the player who scored the winning touchdown had his brother's number, and that's all Parcells was thinking about at the end of the game. He's here with me. So they had a really close relationship.
So there you have it. Nunyo Demasio. The book is Parcells. Bill Parcells had a hand in this too. Hey, Mary, can we follow up on this in your face thing, old school? Are you convinced, or do you believe, because you're into sports and hockey, and you and your husband Bill and your boys talk about sports a lot, and our daughter Olivia, this is our daughter Olivia, field hockey. I'm sure I can't even tell if that looks right. But she's field hockey and softball. In 2024, can you be an old school, in your face, aggressive coach leader, or has that time passed?
I believe that time has passed. It is more of I think it's pivoting again. When
we have Alvin come on, because he knows about this too.
I believe that we did get away a little bit from the everybody gets a trophy. I feel when my boys, who are now 19 and 22, when they were coming up, there was tons of trophies, tons of medals, and we realized that's a detriment to them, because in life, not everything's going to be trophy worthy, medal worthy. So I do feel like we're going back a little bit. What I don't think we should ever get to is that true in your face, aggressive, yelling, screaming. That doesn't work in leadership. It doesn't work on or off the field. It doesn't work in a family unit, friends. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Alvin, old school is dead?
A little bit, yes. Yes and no. But I still have that old school style when I coach, depending on the age group. So right now I'm coaching
10 to 13.
10 to 13, you have to be a little more softer with them, but still stern. I'm very demanding of my 13-year-olds when I'm coaching, and I expect a lot. Like, parents sometimes think I'm too strict, because I have a rule. When we're playing in games, if you miss open layups that you should have scored on, next practice, you're running laps. Because at this age, 13 years old, you should be able to make an open layup uncontested.
Okay, so 14, 15, 16, you get even tougher?
Oh, yes.
Oh, hold on one second.
Yes.
Mary just said old school, aggressive, in your face. Now, Alvin does not use profanity, number one. Number two.
Not for 21 years.
Okay, I don't think he yells and screams.
I do. That's why I'm a little hoarse from this past weekend.
Are you serious?
We're learning something today on Lessons.
I was coaching this past weekend. I'm a little hoarse.
4 years doing lessons in leadership. I thought you were always...
Oh, now when I'm coaching, no. I'll send you video. I'm in your face when I'm coaching.
Please do.
Yes.
Wait, hold on, because I'm a big, everybody knows, not everybody, but I'm a big Shaheen Holloway, Seton Hall basketball. They're playing in the NIT right now. We don't know what's going to happen. Let's hope they win. But Shaheen Holloway, when he was a player, a point guard, but as a coach, He's loud. He's aggressive, and that's your point.
That's me. That's
Fiery.
me. Yes. Night and day.
Why?
Because I need my kids to understand the passion that I have for the game. I love the game. You're not going to step on the court and try to play a game or not play a game that I love and not have me waste my time as a coach coaching you when I have 4 other kids actually, and a wife at home who need me as well. So if I'm going to give you my time, I demand that you give me the best that you have.
Mary, aren't you glad I brought Elvin in?
I'm fascinated. Yeah, this is a side of Elvin that we have never seen before.
So does that translate, Elvin, into the world of leadership? Because coaching obviously is about leadership. You just described your persona as a coach leader, which is very different than your persona as a director and leader in media. Why?
I mean, sports is a little different. You know, when you're coaching young men, you need to pull things out of them that they don't know they have.
Hold on, time out. You said young men. Is it different for a 15, 16-year-old young woman?
Well, I've never coached females before. Never.
Hold
on. But I've seen fiery female coaches.
We're doing this right now. Again, it'll be over by the time this airs. What's the coach at LSU? What's her name? Kim Mulkey?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Well,
and we have
Kim
30
Mulkey,
seconds.
Loud in your face. A lot of coaches are like that. Let me ask you something. Do you think it's any different if you on 30 seconds? You're yelling. You know what you just did? You put in the chat, you yelled 30 seconds. You did.
I did not yell 30 seconds. I wrote it in caps because of your vision, not because I was yelling.
What is this guy saying? Hold on. Mary.
But you can yell at your players and still be respectful.
Can you?
And that's what I do.
Young women who play sports. Why would it be any different?
Time's up, but I've never coached women before. So
this is going to be a conversation, a topic. We're together again in May, and we are going to continue this conversation.
He's not getting away with the show's over because he keeps saying I haven't coached women.
I said I've never been asked to coach.
We'll be talking about that next time, Mr. Badger, who's been badgering me all day. Lessons in leadership for Steve, Mary. Oh, no, I'm Steve. Mary, Elvin, Scarlett, April, Sylvester, Amy,
Frank.
Who's in Miami?
Frank. Miami Frank. See you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates, Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Veolia, resourcing the world, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague, Mary Gamba, has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.
At Delta Dental, we do more to make benefits easy to implement, use, and understand. It's why businesses large and small trust us to keep their employees smiling. Year after year, we make our clients and members happy with unmatched expertise and great dental benefits. We apply our decades of experience to give you more guidance, providing plan design options and cost-saving measures. With reliable support for you and your employees, we make administration effortless and free up your time so you can focus on other business needs. We even do more for vision care with Delta Vision. Choose Delta Dental and discover what the power of more can do for your business and your employees.